Murder and violence. Murder and violence are central to the operations of the Triads. The organizations maintain their control through fear and brutality, often resorting to murder to settle disputes, eliminate rivals, or enforce their will. This violence extends not only to rival gangs but also to those who defy their authority. The Triads' use of violence is systematic and calculated. Murders are often carried out with precision, sending a clear message to others about the consequences of crossing them. This violent reputation serves both as a deterrent to potential informants and as a tool for consolidating power within the organization. The Triads, an intricate tapestry of crime and power origins and historical background. The Triads, an umbrella term for various Chinese criminal organizations, have a complex history rooted in the socio-political upheavals of China. Originating in the 17th century during the Qing Dynasty, these societies began as secretive brotherhoods with the primary aim of resisting the ruling Manchu government. The early Triads were inspired by the legendary White Lotus Society, which sought to overthrow foreign rulers and restore the Ming Dynasty. These organizations operated under the guise of secret societies with rituals and oaths that bound members together. They revered a code of loyalty and mutual support, which also involved criminal activities as a means of survival and resistance against the oppressive regime. The early Triads were involved in smuggling, extortion, and various forms of underground activities. Expansion and evolution. As China transitioned through the turbulent years of the 19th and 20th centuries, including the fall of the Qing Dynasty, the rise of the Republic, and the subsequent establishment of the People's Republic of China, the Triads adapted and evolved. During the 1940s and 1950s, as China faced civil war and political instability, many Triad members fled to British-controlled Hong Kong. There, they established themselves as a formidable presence in the underworld. In Hong Kong, the Triads diversified their criminal enterprises to include drug trafficking, human trafficking, extortion, and murder. They took advantage of the city's booming economy and its status as an international port to expand their operations. Drug trafficking. One of the most lucrative and damaging activities undertaken by the Triads is drug trafficking. The Triads have been heavily involved in the production, distribution, and sale of illicit drugs. Their influence spans across Southeast Asia, including key locations like Myanmar and the Golden Triangle, an area notorious for its heroin production. The involvement of the Triads in drug trafficking is characterized by a highly organized network. They control various stages of the drug trade, from cultivation and manufacturing to distribution and sales. Their operations are marked by extreme violence and secrecy, ensuring that their activities remain largely insulated from law enforcement. The heroin trade, in particular, has been a significant source of revenue for the Triads. The route from the Golden Triangle to Hong Kong and beyond is a well-established pipeline that has fueled addiction and violence in many regions. The Triads' control over this lucrative trade has allowed them to amass considerable wealth and power. Human trafficking. Human trafficking is another grave issue linked to the Triads. This illicit activity involves the exploitation of individuals for forced labor, sexual exploitation, and other forms of abuse. The Triads have been implicated in trafficking operations that span from mainland China to Hong Kong, Taiwan, and beyond. Trafficking victims are often lured with false promises of employment or a better life. Once under the control of the traffickers, these individuals are subjected to horrific conditions. Women and children are frequently targeted for sexual exploitation, while others are forced into labor under brutal conditions. The Triads' involvement in human trafficking is a manifestation of their broader criminal enterprise. They use their established networks and resources to control and exploit vulnerable populations, often operating with impunity due to their ability to intimidate and corrupt officials. Extortion and racketeering. Extortion is a traditional and pervasive element of triad activities. The triads employ intimidation and violence to extract money from businesses and individuals. This form of racketeering often involves protection schemes, where businesses are coerced into paying for protection from harm or vandalism. The extortion methods used by the triads are notoriously ruthless. They employ threats, physical violence, and even murder to enforce their demands. The fear generated by these tactics ensures compliance from victims, who often have no means of escape or recourse. Triads have also been involved in various forms of racketeering, including illegal gambling operations, loan sharking, and counterfeiting. These activities contribute to their financial empire and reinforce their influence over both legitimate and illicit sectors of society. Murder and violence. Murder and violence are central to the operations of the triads. The organizations maintain their control through fear and brutality, often resorting to murder to settle disputes, eliminate rivals, or enforce their will. This violence extends not only to rival gangs, but also to those who defy their authority. The triads' use of violence is systematic and calculated. Murders are often carried out with precision, sending a clear message to others about the consequences of crossing them. This violent reputation serves both as a deterrent to potential informants and as a tool for consolidating power within the organization. Influence and legacy. The influence of the triads extends beyond criminal activities. Their wealth and power have allowed them to infiltrate various sectors of society, including politics, business, and law enforcement. They often use their resources to bribe officials, manipulate legal outcomes, and exert influence over decision-making processes. The triads have left a lasting impact on the societies they operate in. Their activities contribute to the instability and suffering of countless individuals. The heroin epidemic fueled by their trafficking operations has had devastating social and economic consequences. Similarly, the human trafficking rings they operate perpetuate cycles of abuse and exploitation. In response to the threat posed by the triads, law enforcement agencies across Asia and beyond have mounted extensive efforts to combat their criminal enterprises. International cooperation and legal reforms have been instrumental in tackling some of their activities, though the triads' adaptability and resilience continue to pose significant challenges. Conclusion. The triads represent one of the most intricate and enduring criminal organizations in the world. Their history, marked by resistance and adaptation, has led to a present characterized by drug trafficking, human trafficking, extortion, and violence. Despite ongoing efforts to curb their influence, the triads remain a formidable and elusive force, deeply entrenched in the criminal underworld and continuing to impact societies across the globe. Understanding their complex legacy is crucial in addressing the multifaceted issues they present and working towards effective solutions.